we're going to go over basic manual of arms of the PTR 91. Now, I've already done a video of basic handling, and I feel like it's necessary to go over a more broad spectrum and reasons why. So it's going to cover everything from reload, tactical reloads, emergency reloads, etc. Now, malfunctions even, and stuff like that. So with the PTR 91 G3 CETME or whatever, there's a lot of things that go into it, and the main principle behind it is you can't be a tender person. You can't be sitting there like, oh, I just want enough pressure, barely enough pressure to unlock it. No, you have to be willing to actually be rough with it, yank it back, because this recoil spring is the only thing stopping it, and also stopping the bolt and rearward moving along with the buffer. If you don't have the enhanced buffer in your PTR 91, it will cause problems, and I had those problems. I broke two of the recoil spring guides at the base. The weld broke, but it was still functional, it was still there, it wasn't really causing too many problems, but I fixed it early. And I got an enhanced buffer on my own before PTR actually made it a standard. So anyways, I've done upgrades along the way, like manhandling this charging handle. You're going to need a metal charging handle like this one, and I believe this is actually standard, and PTR was kind of making them for Century Arms for a while, because Century Arms, their parts kits dried up, and yeah. But anyways, I noticed that they tend to have a problem with assembly. Not really quality control, but assembly. There's only so many things that they're doing. But as far as assembly goes, their headspace is off. And I've noticed that it has a gap like this where it should just be enough for a hair. You know, 0.018 of an inch at most, and 0.01 at the shortest spacing. So anyways, any manipulation with this rifle really needs to be done from locking the bolt to the rear for the most part. Now, if you're safety checking this is something that I didn't cover. If you're safety checking it, go ahead and eject the magazine first, because we always want to take out the source of ammunition first, and then lock open the bolt. And don't be afraid to pry it open, and use this method. I have a scar right here. I doubt you're going to really be able to see it, but I have a scar right about here from manipulating it, and it actually, in this area right here where it locks it into position, this has actually got kind of a sharp edge to it, and I cut open my finger and it went all the way down to exposing the joint. So you don't want to be doing this. You always want to do this. So anyways, some people don't like the fact that they gotta pry it open. So I don't want to say it's stupid, but some people have suggested in the past that maybe they'll invent something to where the charging handle is always in, you know, this state right here to make it easier. Well, here's the thing. What you're doing when you have it in this position is you're basically locking it up. It's providing tension. You got this piece providing tension, and this little lever pushes it out of the locking position right here, so it pries it open. And that's what you need to realize about this is designed to just unlock it. As you can see here, it just barely unlocks it. Send it home and it unlocks it. So that's what it's for, just enough to pop the rollers into the bolt and pry it open. That's why it's so tough, because that's what you're doing. So it's a lot harder for a fired round to push the bolt back than it is just for you to pry it open and pull it back, because that's basically what you're doing with the bolt head. With the bolt head carrier, this whole bolt head carrier, you have the bolt head that's engaged in here, and I'll go ahead and show you that a little bit. Pardon my lighting, but you can see the bolt head right there. The bolt head carrier is this big assembly right here, and it all comes out as one. So the bolt head is held into the bolt head carrier with this claw arm, and that's what provides the tension to hold the rollers into place and make it very difficult for the bolt head to actually move backwards. And it pulls and locks the rollers into position, but it's not in a full lock because everything that would lock it is at a 45-degree angle. So all it needs is enough tension. So it's not locked. It's not to where it's locked in position until some outside force, like a gas system or whatever, unlocks it from some other lever method or whatever. So when you're pulling it open, it's a lot easier than trying to find a way to put enough pressure on that small bolt head face in order to push it back with enough rearward force that it forces the rollers in. And that's basically what it's doing. So a Fire 308 cartridge still does that, plus some. So it still has enough energy to shove the bolt back, the bolt head carrier group, and the entire assembly, to pull it, push this thing through the recoil spring tension all the way back into the buffer, and the buffer stops it. That's why if you have a short buffer, it's going to cause some damage, because it's going to actually push it in so far that it's actually going to make contact with the buttstock instead of just the buffer. So anyways, so when you're doing any manipulation, basic principles, up-handed, and then, don't be tender with it, keep nice and tight to this, don't be hovering out here. I've seen some people hover and they slip right off. No, you want to be very tight as you can be to this, and I'm pretty close, so you're kind of pushing this way and back, so this way and back. So the next thing is releasing this. You can release it gently, but it may not actually be like mine where it's really well broken in, and it may fail to lock if you're going to try to be gentle with it, which obviously I never recommend. But if you get into this state where it's not quite locked, all I do is I shove it forward and it goes into position. So anyways, when we're talking about releasing it, basically you have two ways. A lot of people like the HK slap, they think it's a lot faster. However, in my experience, I have missed it a couple times. Even looking at it, I had it at an angle because at the same time I was trying to twist my hand to get it back on the handguard, so I'd do that, and I've done that in a couple of videos in the past, and it just looked like crap. So the best way that I found to be consistent, and you see how much purchase I have with my thumb, and I'm already on the grip, I can be right there, and basically I can insert a magazine after being unloaded, still be on the grip and be right there. So as I'm going up, it's very efficient, saves you time, because people are already whining about how long it takes to reload this rifle. Now some people would prefer to think that they would prefer to take the magazine out and then put another magazine in and do the Pulner tactical way of racking the gun after you insert a magazine. Number one, if you have a new magazine, a full magazine, the tension on the side of the magazines is going to be pretty tight. Not to mention that this was designed to basically be a very tight system, and in order for reliability and stuff like that, simplicity, etc. So it doesn't have a bolt hold open, and really I don't think it needs it, because that would kind of obstruct. It would require a bolt release, and you wouldn't be able to have this simple system because you'd have to have a bolt release along with it, which would not really make too much sense. So it's not really that big of a deal. A lot of people don't like that they go click before they realize they're empty, but let me go ahead and demonstrate being empty on the PTR, and I'm just gonna toss the mag into my hoodie here. So anyways, okay, so you're shooting, and you're out. So immediately I go to this, retain the magazine, and then I'm good to go. That really didn't take much time, and that's pretty much the reload time that I have. However, when I have magazines, I typically have them in some kind of retention device. So really, it's actually on par with anything like the Styrog AR or whatever, because I actually have retention. I don't have, them just sitting in a a flat range little holder. So that's what a lot of people gauge their time off of, because they're trying to go competition mode, but they're trying to also say that it's combat style. So when I'm really running this gun and I'm trying to go fast, I find that it's a lot better to, I tried to pull an R tactical way, it's a lot better to just lock it open and make everything nice and easy to insert, and then be good to go using the thumb, so you don't have to stay here until the bolt is released and then go. It saves you a lot of time and energy. Now with malfunctions, it's pretty much the same as a reload. So basically, you're shooting, click, and it's kind of like the third round into the magazine, so it's like, that doesn't sound right. So if you're at the range, you can do this malfunction drill, or if your threat is far away. But if you're in combat and they're closing in, Charlie's in the bush and everything, pull out the pistol until you have time to go ahead and perform this administrative function. But basically, you lock the bolt. You can rack the bolt, you can lock the bolt, whatever you want to do. I would recommend locking the bolt, taking out the magazine, jiggling it out, fingering, whatever you need to do. Usually it comes out on its own, and then send the bolt home. So it's kind of like performing a reload, but some people try to rack the system, but usually what's happening is it's a failure to feed, so all you're causing is like this messed up double feed. So that's typically the only real malfunction that I've actually seen with this system. My recommendation is just lock it back and get out the magazine so everything can fall out, jiggle it, finger it, whatever, insert it, and then get back into it. Most reliable method I've seen. So anyways, that's pretty much it for handling it as far as the manual of arms, of like doing reloads and stuff. Now the safety gets a lot of people. So the safety on here is not exactly the easiest to function, even especially with my little girly sized thumbs. So when I'm going up, I kind of have it to the side and I kind of hold it, kind of off. You can see that this isn't exactly a good firing grip. I don't even have good reach on the trigger from here. So basically what I do is I have it a little bit off and I just hold it like this until I'm ready to shoot. And then when I go, hold it down, and then as I'm going, so I flip it down and then I rotate to get a better hold. So it looks something like this. It happens so fast, it's hard to really see. So as far as releasing the magazine, I guess I will touch back on reloading. Some people got, messed with on the first PTRs because they didn't have the paddle release or whatever. I put on the tack latch because I got, that issue where I basically had to use my right thumb or right index finger. I had to reach forward to touch it. If you're left-handed, this would be a lot easier for you because all you have to do is, push the button, and then, well, this button's pretty stiff. So anyways, all you have to do is push the button, rotate the magazine out, and you do kind of have to rock these magazines in. So that's just a little consideration there. But if you get something like the tack latch, or even if you have the paddle, I think the tack latch is a little bit better because you don't have to get behind anything. You just push to the side and then put it in, and you can install it yourself. So it's pretty easy. I don't know if you can really do it that well with the paddle installed, but it's kind of cool to have the paddle installed and have almost the original GI version. But I have a 16-inch bull barrel which barely fits with this wide form grip, which is actually pretty rare for PTR. It costs like $200, but I got it on sale for like $120 at hkparts.net, but good luck finding them these days. So anyways, this 16-inch bull barrel, I can't even use the bayonet anymore. I have the bayonet attachment. I have modifications to this rifle, and I've run this gun. I've run this gun a lot. I've put thousands of rounds through it, and I still have, a few thousand rounds that I can shoot through this rifle. But, this thing eats up ammo. It does get kind of dirty if you don't use something like Slip 2000 EWL. It's the only thing I recommend because even after 200 rounds, I can still just wipe this thing clean. That's very unusual. I've tested a lot of other lubricants, CLPs, cleaners and stuff, and the cleaners, the designated cleaners themselves don't even do that for you. You still have to spray it on, let it sit. Slip 2000 EWL, if you want to relubricate, it stays wet and you know, you can just wipe it clean, even the barrel. It's amazing. I would do the EWL, not the gun lube, or I would do the EWL 30, my bad. Do the EWL 30. You don't need grease. I wouldn't recommend grease. But if you're going to be using a grease, I would recommend the Slip 2000 EWG, which is their grease. And I know I sound like a spokesperson for them, but it works pretty well. And the best thing to do to keep this action nice and smooth is to lubricate, you know, the right parts, which I'll go ahead and do a video of that later. But this is a pretty good system. $1,000 will get you into this rifle. I mean, you're going to spend a few $100s if you wanted to have nice things done to this. PTR doesn't do any more modifications at the time because they're so busy producing other things. But anyways, it's a pretty good rifle. The magazines are still relatively cheap. It's very reliable. Just know the type of ammunition that you can work with. It's not as reliable as something that you can cater to certain light hunting loads. I don't know why you'd want anything light, but use full powered ammunition. This thing's going to last a while, and PTR actually has a pretty good warranty for taking care of you. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching, and hope you guys will check out this rifle and learn to run them a little bit better. So anyways, thank you very much. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you around the next video.